Good morning and welcome to the Business Lens on Rapid Television Abuja. It is great to have you with us on this edition where we are going to be looking at the numbers, the figures, and how it directly affects you and your business. So let's begin with the key business trends that matter right now, starting from the headlines. Nigeria is taking a major step to grow its mining sector as the federal government teams up with the African Finance Corporation in a landmark $1.3 billion deal to build an alumina refinery capable of processing 1 million tons of bauxite annually, alongside a nationwide mineral mapping project and a new investment vehicle aimed at boosting jobs, attracting capital, and increasing mining's contribution to the GDP. And speaking of the GDP, let's move to Nigeria's economy that is not showing a renewed momentum as Minister of Finance Wale Edun welcomes fresh data from the National Bureau of Statistics, revealing that the real GDP expanded by 4.07% in Q4 of 2025, marking one of the strongest quarterly performances in a decade outside the post-pandemic rebound, building on 4.23% growth in Q2 of 2025 and up from the 3.76% in Q3 of 2024. And now to the next story, where we have global oil markets that are now back on edge as OPEC Plus agrees in principle to raise output by 206,000 barrels per day next month, which is higher than the 137,000 barrels per day monthly increases seen in the fourth quarter, even as rising tensions in the Middle East involving the US, Israel, and Iran threaten to drive crude prices upward. And as repercussions of these tensions, air travel disruptions are now hitting closer to home as the Federal Airport Authority of Nigeria, FAN, confirms that flights from Nigerian airports to Middle East destinations have been cancelled and some delayed due to ongoing airspace closures in the region, with major carriers like airlines like Emirates and Qatar Airways affected, mostly advising passengers to contact their airlines directly for updates and rebooking options. And in another development, we have Nigeria's rising debt burden is back, which is back in focus as data from the Debt Management Office, DMO, shows the federal government paid 140.29 billion naira in interest on its domestic US dollar bond between January and September 2025, which are part of a massive 6.06 trillion naira total interest bill and a 6.32 trillion naira overall domestic debt service within the 9-month period. And now let's head straight into the markets. Now, on the market front, we have Nigeria's equities market deliver its strongest monthly performance in history in February 2026. Yes, say yay. As the Nigerian Exchange Limited added a record 17.6 trillion naira in investor gains, pushing the market capitalization to 123.76 trillion naira. And lifting the NGX All-Share Index by 16.6% to 192,826.78 points, although the profit-taking, later trimmed it to 1.4 trillion naira week on week amid cautious sentiment. So we'll be looking at those stories and more on today's episode after the break. My name is Divine Alex. Stay with us. You're welcome back. This is still the Business Lens of Rapid Television Abuja. My name is Divine Alex, and I just gave you the headlines, and we are going to have the conversation with economist Abiola Adekule from Key2 Markets. Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you for being on the show today.
It's good to be here.
How was your weekend? I think you took, you know, a whole week leave.
Yeah, but it was interrupted by, missiles flying everywhere.
Wow, I get you.
At
I
least
get you on social media,
So it
right?
has been very eventful, actually.
Okay,
Yeah,
thank you. It's good to have you here. Okay, so let's dig into the headline stories proper. Let's start with the federal government's $1.3 billion alumni refinery deal with the African Finance Corporation. So now we are talking about processing 1 million tons of bauxite annually, plus a nationwide geoscience mapping initiative and a new investment vehicle, right? Now, to you, Economy Sabiola, is this finally the shift from exporting raw materials, raw minerals, to real value addition?
Well, it's a start because this is something I've always been looking forward to, even from when I was a very younger person. Because there's something that's always been said about Africa, that Africa is filled with all manner of natural solid resources. And my question always is, why are we not making a lot of money from it? This is some of the reasons why when we're growing up, they used to tell us that, oh, Nigeria is very rich, Nigeria is very rich. And I keep wondering now, if we're that rich, why is there a lot of poverty around? Only to find out that the riches we actually refer to are just like potential riches. They are there, but they are not being mined. They are not being at least used for the benefit of the government or for the citizens. So now that we're starting to see a shift, in government actually trying to refine some of our solid minerals in large quantities, I think it's a very good step in the right direction. And I know that other solid minerals will follow through. For those that don't know, bauxite is used majorly in the production of aluminium. Aluminium has so many applications. Bauxite is also used in construction, is also used in alumina, and so many other uses, at least about 10 different uses. So it's a good way to go. And I know that after this, I'm hoping that the person of, I think, Dele Alake that is there, would be able to also push for some other refineries that would be able to refine some of our solid minerals into semi-finished or finished products, especially something like gold.
And so now, what do you think that they need to do so that this goes right and not become another stalled mega project? Because this is not the first time that we've had issues, topics like this come up, and then somewhere in between the line, it's looking like we don't have the information. We are not seeing anything. So what do you think that they need to do to be able to get this right?
Well, I think that they are already doing a whole lot, that they need to do because this is not just the government. This is not just a private investor. This is a combination of about 3 to 4 entities. So there's something we used to say in my language that if you won't because of palm oil, eat the yam, because of the yam, eat the palm oil. So at the end of the day, if one is dragging, another one is pushing forward, and they will make sure that at the end of the day, this actually works. So I strongly believe with the way they are moving that it should work. That's one. Then two, the government is also looking at how to close off its deficit, looking for more in revenue streams. We've been talking about this for the past few weeks, especially about crude oil. But now, if this is entering into the pipeline of revenue, I think the government is going to really attack it seriously because it's something that can easily generate revenue for Nigeria.
Okay, now let's talk about timelines, right? What timelines or funding structure or maybe power infrastructure do you think guarantees, do you think are in place to ensure the execution does not derail momentum?
For timelines will be normal production and construction timelines. I don't really think funding will be a problem right now, because if you look at the way things are mapped out naturally, solid minerals are not infinite. Like, they are not everywhere.
Yes.
But funding is almost everywhere. Like, there are a lot of people that can bring funds to say, oh, please, let's build a gold refinery. But do we have gold everywhere? No. So for the mere fact that Nigeria has this, and to bring in funds, I think is the least problematic thing. So whatever timeline is going to be there will be the construction timeline, and I think it will go as planned.
Okay. So now, while Nigeria pushes domestic industrial growth, OPEC Plus is planning to raise output by 206,000 barrels per day next month, even as Middle East tensions involving the US, Israel, and Iran threaten to push prices higher, which we're going to discuss much later. Now, how do you think, right, this should Nigeria, or how should Nigeria, right, balance higher production ambitions with the whole global price volatility and geopolitical risks?
It's a tricky one because a lot of things happened over the weekend. A lot. And a lot is still happening now, and things are changing rapidly. For example, there's somewhere called the Strait of Hormuz. The Strait of Hormuz is like a choke point that a lot of ships that especially carry crude, pass through, okay, to be able to get to either the southern hemisphere or the other side. So this choke point is being controlled by one of the countries that is having conflict right now. And the rumor is that that place is being closed off. Now, if that place is closed off, it's going to affect about 20 to 25% of the global oil supply. This is a big deal for China, for Nigeria, for everybody that consumes products of crude oil. It's a big deal. But also because we now are not just consumers of crude oil, we also actually export crude oil. So it might actually be a form of an advantage for us, because we also can actually now pump up or increase our production, like what you're just reading now, because production is already going to go down in some other areas, and we are not in conflict with anybody. We can actually increase our own production and thereby make more money for the country, apart from the fact that the price of crude oil is already jumping up. We've seen about 10% increase already between Friday and now, which is a big deal. So right now, OPEC Plus increasing their production one way or the other might mean that Nigeria or other members of OPEC might also need to increase because there might be shortage from other areas of the world.
Now, you said that this could be an advantage for us. Now, how does that improve Nigeria's fiscal buffers?
First, the advantage in two ways. Okay. If we have the capacity to push more than the 1.5 million that we have been given as quota, which we've not been able to meet anyway consistently, then that means that we can do more. If we are giving more, we can do more and we can make more. Secondly, the price. When prices of what you sell goes up without the cost of production going up, then it means you're making more profit. So instead of looking at 50 something going towards 60, now we're already talking about 70, 72, 73 dollars per barrel. This is a marginal and very significant increase, which means more money for the country.
More money for the country. Now let's take a swipe to federal FAN, right? Now we've also seen FAN confirm that flights to the Middle East, because of the whole tension and conflict, including Emirates, Qatar Airlines, have been cancelled or delayed, right? Now due to the whole airspace closure. Now, beyond passenger inconvenience, what does this say about Nigeria's exposure to global shocks?
Everybody is exposed. It's not even about Nigeria. The earlier Nigerians start understanding that we are not isolated in this world, the faster we'll be able to start, developing in that direction. What I mean is, if not, let's assume there's a total shutdown now, and we can't even buy any form of petroleum product. Let's just assume. And let's assume that we don't have Dangote refineries. We just have modular. The way we are going to feel it, we will know that we are not isolated from the whole world. Now, concerning what's going on currently, it's an eye-opener and it's a wake-up call, because if you see the videos coming out of Dubai airport, coming out of people, we're talking about thousands of people, because Dubai airport is like the busiest interchange in the world, where people go to pick up another flight. It's like a city, practically. I'm talking about the airport. So now people are stranded to no end. Planes are grounded everywhere. It's not even about Nigeria alone. But for me, just to make a joke out of it, I'll just put the plane there. If you want to still go here, because how do you fly when we have missiles flying everywhere? So it's a reminder that the world is a global village. If you feel you're isolated because you are in Burundi or you are in Amsterdam, it's not like that, because as far as we're moving around and something is going on in the Middle East, where is and Middle East is like the major switch over for a lot of connecting flights. We're talking about Qatar, which is, talking about Doha, UAE and all that. And now that is affecting everybody. So it's a wake-up call for us to think global much more than thinking local.
Okay, now, so could, prolonged disruptions impact foreign flows or logistic costs for business or operating across that corridor?
It's already impacting everything, because I'm a businessman, for example. I cannot go and do my business in Dubai, or I have a flight to Germany and my stopover is in Dubai or is in Doha. I can't already. The business cost is already rising. We're not even talking about aviation. Now a lot of planes are grounded, meaning that they need to be in hangars where they will be paying rentals. Also, they need to be, because planes are such delicate structures. Now, it means that they have to have turnaround maintenance one way or the other if they are grounded for too long. You cannot just ground the plane for 5-6 days, then just kick and just move it. No, you have to check everything. So cost is rising everywhere for everybody right now.
Okay, so and while the Nigerian exchange just posted a record of 17.6 trillion naira gain in February, which is the strongest month ever. I said we should clap earlier. Now, according to the data from the Debt Management Office at the DMO, that shows that federal government paid 140.29 billion naira in interest on its domestic dollar bond and the 6.06 trillion naira in total domestic interest within 9 months. Now, are we seeing a disconnect between booming asset prices and growing cost of public debts?
These two things are not directly related, maybe indirectly, because if you look at the stock exchange markets, most AGMs and dividend payments usually come in the first quarter. So there's usually a whole lot of pump to make the dividend payout, much more interesting. Now, if you also look at the constituents of who are those investing in the stock markets, you will see that it has more to do with a balance of indigenous, and foreign direct portfolios. So people cashing out, making a lot of money from the stock exchange really does not have so much to do with our debt servicing, because the debt servicing has to do more with government. The investments in the stock exchange have to do more with the private sector. But if you still look at it critically, you would see that since the government is owing a whole lot, every government is owing.
There was a conversation that came up between when people were trying to talk about FDI and FPI. Now, some people are thinking that the FPI is actually what is giving us, and some people are celebrating it like, oh, our economy is doing so good.
No.
Now, while somebody on the other end was almost arguing that, no, it's the FDI. If we want our economy to actually, then we have to look at the FDI, we have to sample it. What would you say about this? It was because you talked about it, it's a little bit linked. That is why I brought it in. So can you help us explain the FDI, the FPI, so that people, because they say, oh, the stock market is doing so well, so our economy is definitely growing, we are booming, we're making this, but people don't really understand that there's a difference. So I think you'll be in a better position.
The question I ask people is this: if I take a loan from a microfinance or from all these short-term loans, and I take 2 million naira and I buy new clothes, I'm looking good, buy perfumes, buy sunglasses, I'm looking really nice. Does that mean that my situation or my economic situation has increased or has gotten better? To the outsider, or to someone just looking at me, it looks as if this guy is as if he's moving up in life. But the truth is that what I just did was to take a short-term loan that I will still pay off. And by the time I pay off, I might need to sell that glasses and that nice dress. So that is what FPI looks like. Foreign portfolio investments are short-term investments. I usually refer to them as hot money because they don't stay. Most of them don't stay more than 365 days, maximum 2 years, but that's even very rare. So you see $10 billion inflow coming in to take all sort of profits from the economy, and it's not going to stay, and it goes out. Then what's the profit in it for the country? But when you look at FDIs, they do the same thing but slower. That means we're looking at a larger time frame, and usually FDIs come in to build capital projects. to build up infrastructures. You can look at FDIs and say, okay, an example is, oh, we want to do a train station, okay, from Abuja to Lagos. Now, we know that this project alone, construction alone might take 5 years. Now, that means that that money will be in the country for at least 5 years, first of all. Then, you now start running the train, which is a source of revenue for the country. It increases GDP, it increases accessibility to different markets. So it's an advantage on different fronts, and the money stays longer. So this is just surface level, but to distinct it, FPI does not stay long. It's looking for the fastest and highest profit, and it goes out immediately. FDI stays longer, has to do more with infrastructure, capital projects, and at the end of the day, would bring in revenue for the country, would bring in employment opportunity for the country, will also open up the country more to be able to increase its GDP. So at the end of the day, FDIs are always better, but we cannot say no to FPIs.
We cannot say no to FPIs. Now, right now, considering the fact that February, the stock market is doing so good, what would you attribute it to? The FDI, the FPI?
It's FPI now.
It's FPI.
It's FPI. Because stock market has to do with FPI majorly. But the appeal is this, or the plea rather is this, that at the end of the day, if I, as a company, bring in $10 billion, put it in the stock market, and at the end of the day I make $2 billion, which is 20%, it is possible as a company to say, okay, we've made $2 billion. Let's put $1 billion in FDIs. We made the FPIs from this country, right? Okay, let's take our 10 billion or we reinvest it. We take our 1 billion profit, then the other 1 billion profit, let's put in FDIs for a long time. What's it going to make profit? But at the end of the day, it's going to be slower profit. But it's something that I think is possible from foreign investors.
From foreign investors. Okay, thank you so much for that one. Let's go on a quick break. When we return, we'll discuss how the US, Iran, Israel, and the Middle East tensions can affect your pocket, your business, and the Nigerian economy. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Nigeria's economy, the global market, what does it all mean for you? From stock market insights to global financial news you need to know, from Wall Street to the main street and of course the marketplace. Get the answers you need every week on Business Lens as I bring into focus the stories, strategies and shifts shaping our economy. No angle is missed as I talk about the business, the people, patterns and possibilities behind them. Welcome to the Business Lens.
Rapid TV, rooted in truth, driven by impact.
You're welcome back. This is still the Business Lens of Rapid Television, Abuja. My name is Divine Alex. Like I said earlier, that we were going to be looking at how the US, Iran, Israel, and then the Middle East tensions and conflicts is definitely going to affect you. So over the weekend, we have videos of escalating tensions between these countries. The US, like I said, Israel, and then Iran dominated social media, including a widely, shared clip from a Doha. So I think it was a man, showing a particular clip where he's trying to run to safety. I think that was in Doha. And then you could see the missile going straight to a particular hotel, and you see a lot of people trying to run to safety before, moment of a explosion happened at the back. And you saw this man, I think that particular one got a lot of people. Now, the heightened tension is already influencing global oil prices, right? Which, given Nigeria's status as an oil exporting nation, could translate into higher domestic fuel costs. It could also maybe affect inflation and then touch everything from transportation to household expenses. Now, while the conflict is thousands of miles away, it doesn't take away the fact that its ripple effects can be felt here in Nigeria, here at home, from petrol pump prices to flight tickets, and even the cost of everyday groceries can be touched because of this tension. Now, this is not just abstract news. It directly impacts your daily budget, which is now taking me to the question, Economist Abiola. Now, we already talked about OPEC and the fact that, they're going to raise oil, and we talked about the fact that this tension is likely going to be advantage to us, right? But if we look at the fact that they're going to be raising the output to 206,000 barrels per day starting in April, which is next month, but then we still have oil prices already spiked now, with Brent crude jumping to around $80 per barrel. How do you think this tension affects Nigeria's oil exports, revenue, and budget planning, especially given that oil accounts for over or maybe around 85% of our export earnings?
Well, it's a double-edged sword because let's first of all isolate the whole thing going on in the Middle East. Let's just assume that the price of crude oil goes up. Now, what does it mean for Nigeria? If the price of crude oil goes to $100, for example, what it means is that if we sell 1 million barrels, for example, it will be 1 million, okay, times $100, which is $100 million, okay, total sales. Now, it means that the government has earned more money, or let's say Nigeria has earned more money. But it also means that the pump price of PMS, for example, which is the most popular derivative of crude oil in Nigeria, is also going to jump up. Okay, so the price that is, let's say, at almost 1,000 might go to, let's say, 2,000. I'm just giving this example as a scenario. So while the government, or let's say the country, is making a whole lot of more money, the pump price of PMS is also going to increase, which means that people would have to spend more to get the same quantity of PMS they used to get. What does that mean? It means that the disposable income of an average household in Nigeria is going to reduce. Okay. Now, the normal thing to do is, since the country is earning more, they usually put in some cushion effects, safety nets, to be able to cushion the effect of the pump price. But if that does not happen in Nigeria, for example, then it means that the citizens are the ones that will bear the full brunt of the increase in the price of crude oil. So that is the explanation in a nutshell. Now, pushing in what is going on right now, there are two things that are going to be happening, two major things. Okay. The first thing is the world needs to keep running. And there's a fight in the Middle East affecting the supply of crude oil. Iran is one of the biggest supplier, having the highest deposits of crude oil, in the world. So if we're not getting a lot of supplies from there and from other countries there, we still have Saudi, we still have, that place is oil, personified. So if you're not getting supplies as much as it should come out of there, it means there'll be a deficit around the world. What it now means is that other members of OPEC need to now step up their game to be able to cover that shortfall. But the question now is, the people you want them to cover the shortfall, do they have the capacity? Because there's a difference between saying, oh, take more, and oh, I can do more. There are two different statements. Now, if they're going to give Nigeria, or they're giving Nigeria, much more, 270,000 barrels per day, fantastic. But can we meet up to that? If we can meet up to that, fantastic, because that means we can make more money and also be relevant in geopolitics at the end of the day. So how it affects the average man on the streets is that if things are not carefully done okay, by the government to find a way to cushion the effect of the rise of the price of crude oil. It is going to affect the price of the pump price of PMS. And we all know that in this part of the world, once there's an increase, nobody waits. They increase it immediately. But when there's a decrease, they say you should wait for the one that is coming from the sea to come. So if care is not taken, in the coming couple of days, we might start seeing a gentle rise in the price of petrol from petrol stations, or we might even be seeing some level of scarcity, because maybe some petrol stations might actually say, oh, we are shutting down for now, we don't want to sell, and all those, normal gimmicks they do. Now, coming to our refinery in Nigeria, we don't know yet what part it will play, because no statements have been made yet, but I'm also feeling that there will be a sort of cushioning effect coming from there, at least to maintain what's it called, the supply, so that there will be no scarcity. But now, concerning pricing, sincerely, your guess or my guess, is as good as yours.
Okay, so if prices were to stay elevated, now, do you think this could strengthen our forex position, but also, can it also risk inflationary pressure on petrol and other energy products?
Like I said before, it's a double-edged sword. So while it can strengthen our FX, because now we are receiving more FX, people will get technically poorer, because now, if I have 100,000 naira per month, and I usually buy fuel of 50,000 naira, that means I have 50,000 to do other things. Now, if fuel goes to 70,000, and let's say I must buy because I must do my job, then that means I now have 30,000 naira to spend on other things. So, thereby bringing in more inflation. So, on one side, the government will make more money, will stabilize the naira more. On the other side, the citizen might have to be the ones to pay for it. Now, hearing me, people might feel that, why is the government, the people, are they not the same thing? Yes, they are meant to be. Theoretically, the government is the people. But based on what is obtainable right now, we don't know if that flow would come. We don't know if there's an excess flow coming into the government, if it will flow to the citizens to be able to mitigate or actually cushion the effect of the increase in PMS, for example.
Okay, now, in one word, how would you describe this whole tension's effect or impact on Nigeria's economy? There's a big if they are able to take advantage, to be able to utilize it properly. But in one word, how? What is this impact to our economy? Just opportunities?
That's one word.
And they should just jump on it. Yeah. So do you have any advice for people who are supposed to be in these sectors or the federal government to be able to, tap into on how to utilize these opportunities that is almost tearing us to boost our economy?
What we need to do is to have more self-sustenance sectors. What I mean by that is, in this oil sector, for example, we have oil. We now have a big refinery. We need more refineries. It can be modular refineries. We need to be able to have a situation where, in case we cannot get this product, we should be able to develop it or refine it locally to the extent of which we use normally. For example, you see a country like China, they have months of storage, backup, in case, when it has to do with what's it called, oil and all these derivatives, so that in case there's a situation where they cannot import, export, and all those things, they can still sustain their economic, their economy rather. So the same thing I think Nigeria should do. We should start looking toward, even though we are not isolated from the world, but a level of self-reliance. That means we should have enough refining capacity to produce what we use. If you bring it down to an average man, let's assume that there's an issue, globally, people cannot buy, cannot feed. If you have a farm in your house or behind you or wherever, you should be able to produce enough for you to eat, so that it can be alive till whatever is going on is over. The same thing Nigeria should adopt.
Do you think this tension can affect inflation?
It's affecting it already.
How?
Okay, now, normally inflation is when a lot of money is chasing few goods, or few money is chasing a lot of goods, one way or the other. So now, because of the disruption along the Middle East, apart from oil, a lot of things are not going to be moving to their destinations, which means their supply will start dwindling in those destinations. Let's even say toilet roll. Now, let's assume that toilet roll is being imported steady from the Middle East, and now no more toilet roll is coming in. So now, a whole lot of money will be chasing the few toilet rolls, that are available in the country, thereby bringing up inflation. So by the time you spread that across board, you see that the issue going on, if not quickly resolved, would actually bring up some form of inflation. And there are so many ways. I don't want to go into the US dollars. That's another thing entirely, because inflation will come from that route also. Once war is going on, a whole lot of economics to some extent is a little bit suspended, because abnormalities and things that are not normal, are actually taking place.
Yes.
So you can expect almost anything. So yes, it would bring in inflation, but it will be through different routes.
Okay. Now, I want us to take a look at the effect of this tension on the Nigerian stock market, right? Do you think that, given that Nigerian stock market is experiencing a bullish run right now, is there a risk that this global crisis can trigger a sudden correction of volatility for investors?
I don't think so. Okay. Yeah. Instead, I feel it might even increase the bullish run. And this is my reason.
Okay.
Now, once we have an issue somewhere around the world, what investors are thinking is, I'm pulling my money out of here, where can I put my money? Can I distance my money very far away from this stuff? We're already getting, articles, feedbacks that a lot of billionaires, the big men, the big guys in UAE, for example, have started calling other countries that have luxury towers, because the next thing that is on their mind is, once I leave this place, I'm going far away from the Middle East. Nobody has that amount of money and wants to be near something that they are not sure if they will live to see tomorrow. So people naturally will gravitate towards safety. Investors naturally. Look at what happened to gold. Gold started spiking. We already knew. From Friday when we started getting feelers, we're just discussing amongst ourselves, and I had a friend that was trading gold. I said, leave your trades. It's on buy, right? Just leave it. By the time we opened market on Monday, there was already a large gap, and it's still going up. Well, when I left the office, it was like 5,400. So what is going on is people are removing their funds from where they feel is a whole lot of risk to where they feel is a safe haven,
place,
which Nigeria can make use of that same opportunity. That's why I said the one word is opportunity. We really position ourselves, we can have a whole lot of inflow. It might be that people are parking their funds. It does not matter. Whether they are parking into, they are moving, let the funds just come into the economy.
Okay, thank you so much, Economist.
Thank you.
Do you have anything you want to add as regards to the topic today?
I think an average Nigerian should learn more of geopolitics, because it's really sad when you go online and you see the way Nigerians are making comments. People don't really understand how Nigeria fits into the whole geopolitical agenda globally, and they make very, very blanket and very ignorant statements. I think an average Nigerian should read more about how geopolitics affects him or her, so that when you're making comments, you can see that, oh, this thing going on here can actually impact us like this, instead of just having blind statements based on what you are being fed by social media and social media.
Okay, thank you so much for that one. That wraps up today's edition of Business Lens, from landmark mining investment to soaring stock market that we said it's a good one, right? Thank you so much for joining us. My name is Divine Alex. Keep the date with us on Thursday at 11 a.m. for another edition of Business Lens. Thank you and bye for now.